Hey guys, welcome back to the Insole Skate Shop YouTube channel, and today we're going to do a review of the Razors SL skate. I'm going to tell you the history of the skate, history of the brand, what sets it apart from different models, and my honest opinion about it. We are here, of course, in Insole Skate Shop in Amsterdam. If you ever want to get some skates, this is the right spot. We have a web shop if you don't live in the neighborhood or if it's hard for you to come by. We do advise you to try on skates in store because I can tell you everything that I want about this skate. But if it's a skate for you, that's something that you only know once you put it on your foot. We're going to talk about the Razors SL today, and it's of course a part of the Razors brand. And Razors is a brand, it's fairly old. It already started in the late 80s with recreational skates, but it only got popular in the late 90s with their aggressive skates. Then that's when it really started to boom. They first had like some classic raised heel boots, recreational skates that slowly were like converted to aggressive, as was the trend of the day, by putting on like grind plates and sole plates and smaller wheels and stuff like that. If you want to know more about the history of the sole plate, we have a video about that to see how that evolved. Their first popular boot was the Razors Cult, and that's still a model that they still have. Back then it was called the Flat. It had a few different names, but it's still the same basic mold. I think they started that in about 97. And the Cult also evolved. Like first it did not have a sole plate, and then it got like little add-on pieces, and then eventually they made an addition with the removable backslide plate. And the removable backslide plate is one of the trademark things that has been consistent through all Razor skates until now, because they just released a full sole plate for the Razors SL. I'm going to tell you more about it when we hit the topic sole plates, of course. But it's a very distinguished thing. The Cult had like a white backslide plate, and later they made the Razors Genesis, which was a lot wider skate, and was the first skate they like truly designed themselves. It was a flat bottom boot, while the Razors Cult is a raised heel boot. The Genesis is one of the widest skates on the market, so if you have like really difficult feet and nothing will fit you because you have just like too wide and too tall foot, then the Genesis is something to try. Genesis has a nice shock absorber, and then in 2009 they came out with the Razors SL, and this was also a skate that they fully designed themselves. The only thing that is a stock part on it is the cuff, meaning that it's the same cuff as the Razors Cult has, so nothing changed there, but everything else did change. The first model that came on the market was the Razors Aragon 2. It was a classic colorway, black and white, and back then there were people coming like zombies in the store to buy it. They were like, oh, we need to have this Razors SL Aragon 2, it's like the best skate ever. And why they thought it was the best skate was, first, Brian Aragon was one of the top riders at that moment, and he had a really big fan base, so that was really good marketing. And second, they marketed it as being very low to the ground and really light. So the SL, Razors SL, means super light. SL, super light, okay? So people thought it was a super light skate. And they made a little trick with the sole plate where was really thin, and there was a hole in the boot, which I'm going to tell you more about later. That's why people loved it in the beginning. Like it had a totally different grind feeling than, for example, the Razors Cult. The skate comes in a few different editions. There's like a team edition, and team meaning like that's kind of like the cheaper version. Those usually have like the stock liner, which is then like a Razors liner, and a plastic buckle, and I think those are the biggest things that set it apart. And they come in like really plain, basic colorways. So this is just like the Razors SL Graphite or Gray, and this is the Razors SL Red, for example. And I can predict to you that there will be loads of different like colorways of this in the future with basically all the same parts but just in a different color. So very cool color technology here. So maybe like next year they'll do like Razors SL Black again, or they'll do a Razors SL White, or So this will continue, I think, for decades. And then once or twice a year, there's a Razor's SL Pro Skate. Here are 3 Pro Skate, 1 for Derek Henderson, well, 2 actually for Derek Henderson, and 1 for Nicolas Arouche. And these usually feature a lot better liner, so it's either a rain liner, or sometimes they use the rain liner quality but put a Razor's logo on it, but then it's still like a rain liner in a way. And it has a metal buckle, and foremost it also has the colorway that the pro skater wants. So having a pro skate means that you can decide everything on this skate. You have to practice a lot, become really good, and then maybe you can get a pro skate someday as well. And then you can get to design your own skate and have your name on it. So that's pretty cool. And the pro skater then also gets some royalties over each purchase of these skates. So that's also a good way to support those riders, is by skating their skates. Now I'm going to run through all the different aspects of the skate. So first I'm going to talk about flex and tell you what sets these parts apart from other skate parts and from other skates, and how to compare this skate with others. First topic is the flex. The forward flex is really natural. It's, in my opinion, the way a skate should be. I think it's a little bit comparable to a Rose's skate. You compare it to a USD Aeon, for example. The USD Aeon has a lot more flex, but I also think that's a little bit too much. And then, for example, the Mesmer Throne skates, they have a little bit less flex, and I also think that that's a little bit too stiff, that skate, in the forward direction. In the sideways direction, so that's what you want to have for Royales. If you're going to do like those grinds where you bend your foot all the way. It's really easy to do Royales on these skates. Somehow all the riders on Razor skates have really nice topsoles and really nice Royales. So you can see there as well that the sideways flex is really well thought out. It's really well done. Because they're so nice and flexible for those type of grinds, this is also not the right skate to put on big wheels. So you can, of course, because it's a UFS system, you can put any wheel size on it that you want, but I advise against it because it's too flexy. Next topic is the fit. The Razor's SL is a pretty wide skate. It's not as wide as the Razor's Genesis, but it's but for example the Razor's Shift, which came after this one, like a couple of years later, that one is a little bit more narrow. So broadly on the market, this is one of the widest skates, I think, but it's not the widest. The sizing comes marketed as individual sizes, so it's like a 39, 40, 41, 42. But in reality, the 41 and the 42 are the same outer mold, and only the liner length changes a little bit. And because the liner gets warm, it gets wet, it moves around, the liner will kind of like shape to the shape of the outer plastic mold. So even if you buy a 41, after like a few weeks of skating it, it will feel like a 42. So there's no reason to get like the smaller liner size in a shell. So that's why we at This Is All Skate Shop also don't purchase those. We list it on the website as 41, 42 because that's how the true sizing actually works. And then it's 43, 45 bundled as well. So if you want to learn more about this topic, we have an entire video. It's called The Skate Sizing Lie. It's really informative. Go check it out. One other thing about the fit, and it's also a good start for the next topic, is that this skate feels like you're walking on clouds because it's really soft. So the shock absorber, you can see it here. Whoop. This white thing here, it's really thick and really squishy. And that means that it's really good if you land gaps. So if you land and you sometimes you bruise your heel. It happened last week. We had a real street competition here in the Netherlands, and the winner actually made a really big gap and he landed on his heel. So he bruised his heel because he didn't have a nice shock absorber like that. Me, myself, I don't do gaps like this, so I also don't need a good shock absorber. And the downside to it is that if you push off, also it absorbs a lot of energy. So you lose some control with it. That's why I skate the Razor Shift, which has the same shock absorber in it, and I changed this shock absorber to a harder one. So that's also something you can consider if you want to be really specific about your shock absorber. The shock absorber sits in a flat boot, This is like a specific type of skate. You have raised heel boots like a Razor's Cult or a Roach's M12. USD Sway, Dem 909, those all have like an integrated plastic shock absorber, which is like really hard, so that there's no shock absorbing actually. And this is of the type that it has a flat boot. You can see here the sole plate is completely flat, which makes room for that nice little shock absorber. Next topic is the liner. So there's two types of liner. There's the stock liner, which comes in the cheaper versions. I don't think that this is the best liner. It's gonna break in a lot, and especially the tongue sometimes goes like really low and doesn't sit properly. But you can always upgrade it. So it's not a bad idea to just get the cheapest one and then maybe later buy a rain liner to replace it with if you don't like it. Some people do like it though, so you can always try it because it's a cheap liner. We also offer this liner as an aftermarket liner, so you can buy it separately from our store as well. The rain liner I really like. It's really nice and soft, it has a lot of padding. So if you ever have a skate where you feel that you don't have enough pressure on your foot, you can put in a rain liner. It's a lot thicker, so your foot is locked in better. That's what you really feel as well if you put on the rain liner compared to the stock liner, that the fit is just really nice. But the rain liner also breaks in a lot. So I used to skate this rain liner, and I think I replaced it every half year. But I of course skate a lot. I skate like almost every day. So if you don't want to replace your liner, the best thing is not to use it. Then you'll keep it good forever. But I don't advise that. Cool. This is the insole that's in the skate. And what's nice is that it's nice and reinforced with plastic so that it locks your heel good in the right position. It's actually a pretty good insole, meaning that like the bad insoles only have this flexible part, but also have this flexible part in the back. And a good insole kind of like has some plastic reinforcement in it. So I'm quite happily surprised with this, but it's of course not as good as a Superfeet insole, but still decent. All right, next topic is the buckle. It comes with two buckles, the plastic buckle here and the metal buckle here. The metal buckle is one of my favorite buckles. It's the same buckle that is on the Dem skates, and it's been on a few other skates as well. I think Powerslide also uses it on some models. FR uses it. So this is just like a tried and tested buckle. The metal one is really good. The plastic one is also a really decent plastic buckle, but of course plastic buckles are less good. So you feel it when you close it that you have less closure strength with it. And of course the plastic buckles break more easily as well. Then buckle length as another topic. Usually I advise people to cut off the buckles if they're too long. You can do that with a good pair of scissors or a knife. You can just cut it off. But for racers, it never is really a problem that, like if you put it here underneath the cuff, it goes and sits between the liner and the cuff. And that's a little bit annoying. That means that you cannot tighten it as tight as that you would want to. But I've never had that problem with racer skates, that it actually was a problem. If it is a problem, of course, you can still cut it. But usually it's not necessary. Next topic is the cuff. I have a Racer's Genesis here, which is the father of the SL. So it's the skate that came before that. And it's the same cuff, but here the buckle does not go into the cuff, and here the buckle does. So it's actually 100% the same cuff, but they kind of like changed this area here. I'm not entirely sure which is better. Both have like an advantage. So here it's easier to close, but you have the possibility that the buckle like rubs against the other buckle if you skate. And here it goes in, but sometimes it's annoying because you cannot close it as good as you want. But then of course you can cut it. So, but there's also one extra cuff, and I see that there's no skate on the market right now with that cuff. So that's kind of interesting. But when the SL first came out, it was the Razor's Aragon 2, like I already said. And that one had like the SL cuff. That's what it was called. And it was just basically the same cuff actually, but the flaps here in the front were a little bit more cut off. So it was a slightly different design. The look of the skate is a little bit different with it as well. But apparently they don't use it anymore, so maybe in the future they'll bring it back. The sizing of those cuffs, by the way, are all the same. So if you have a size 47 Racers SL or one of the smallest, the size 3940, they all use the same cuff. The only skate that ever had a different cuff was one of the old Racer Sculpts. So back in the 90s, the Racer Sculpt had 2 cuff sizes, and only the very smallest skates, like the 3940, had like the smallest cuff size. But actually they changed it, so later they just used 1 cuff for all the skates, and they kept on doing that for their newer models as well. The flex of the cuff is great. One interesting thing is that Remedy's skates, it's a different skate brand, it sits underneath the same distribution umbrella. So the brand is owned kind of like by the same owners, partly at least. And also that means it comes from the same factory, and it has kind of like the same flex in a way, uses some of the same parts like the cuff bolts, but also the cuff. So that means that if you have a Remedy's skate, you can take the cuff off and put it on a Racers SL. And the Remedy skates have really exaggerated V-cut cuff, meaning that in the back it goes down really low and then back again. And that changes, of course, the flex to the back, so you can lean to the back a lot more. But also changes the sideways flex. So if you want to have more sideways flex, which I don't think is necessary for this skate, but if you just want it because you want to have Royales even more easy, you can put on a V-cut Remedy's cuff on this skate as well. All Remedy's cuffs fit on all Racers skates, no matter the model or the size. So up until now, a lot of the things that I talked about were kind of like the same as the Racers Shift. The Racers Shift is a model that they made a few years later. That's the model that I currently skate as well. But the biggest difference with the Racers Shift is the way the sole plate works, because for the Racers Shift you can change the sole plate real easily with some buttons. And this is kind of like the predecessor of the Racers Shift, so this one doesn't have that. But this was really revolutionary when it first came out, and this is one of the unique selling points, was that you sit directly on the sole plate with your foot. So the liner actually sits on the sole plate. Instead, with a normal skate, if you would take the sole plate off, you would see like the shell being completely closed right here. So they marketed it as such that you're standing actually a lot lower on the skate. Whether that's true or not is up for debate, but definitely it gave people the feeling that you're super low. You do see that this sole plate has a lot of holes. So there's like 4 holes on this side, and there's 6 holes on this side. So if you ever want to customize a Racers SL, it will take a lot of screwing and unscrewing. And like if 1 out of 4 bolts doesn't work properly, that's in total 2 bolts that are gonna make a problem. And that makes customizing the sole plate of the Racers SL kind of like a pain in the ass. But you can make some really cool customs because it has so many parts. Because it has the sole frame, and then it has the sliders here, which are 2 separate parts. So this is a separate part and this one. And then it has the backslide plate, which is also available in different colors. So all these parts are available at our web shop, thisissole.com, or in our store, of course, in different colors. So that's pretty cool that you can customize that. And they just released the full sole plate. So it's a slider. You can click it on the side like this. Click. It uses only 3 bolts instead of the previous 6, and it's a lot more rigid. So the original ones, if I would just grab it here and pull on it, I could just move this slider a little bit. So it's a little bit weak and a little bit flexy, and that's not what you want in a skate. You want it to be sturdy and solid, okay? And the full sole plate fixes that at least a little bit, so it's a little bit more solid. So this is a really good improvement. If you have a Racers SL, I advise you to get this and upgrade your skate. So you saw that the slider was a little bit flexible, and that's also the case with the Souplate itself. Because the Souplate is so thin, they kind of like made it a little bit too weak. You can see here that I'm flexing it like this. So this plate is a little bit too flexy, but it also means that the frame sits on it a little bit too flexy. So I can pull here on the frame, and I can just wiggle the frame a little bit. I don't know if you see it on camera, but it's definitely like 1 millimeter or 2 millimeters. I can just move it around. That's also not what you want. For aggressive skating, it's fine. Like if you can choose, I wouldn't choose the flexibility. I would skate exactly the same skate, rather with some stiffness in the frame area at least. But for aggressive skating, it's fine. But it does mean that you shouldn't put big wheels on this skate. So don't put on like a 4x80 or a 90 or something bigger even is highly not recommended. So a cool thing about the Souplate is that it sits really deep. So the slider actually is about 7 millimeters higher than the plateau where the frame sits. And that means that your frame is going to be sunken into the Souplate a lot relative to other aggressive skates, where maybe this difference is only like 2 millimeters. So you can skate a little bit taller frames on this plate than on other skates and still have kind of like the same flex. So this is also one of the reasons why these Racers SLs skate so nice in doing royales, is because the frame is sunken in a little bit. So if you skate something like a Wish frame on it, that's a little bit of a taller frame than, for example, like a Fluid 5 or a Fluid 4 Geyser frame, or it works really well because of this Souplate depth. The Souplate is one of the widest Souplates. It's not as wide as the Racer Shift. The Racer Shift is a few millimeters wider even, but yeah, it's just the width is really nice, and then the groove here also is on the perfect position and is perfectly deep. So in general, the dimensions of this Souplate are perfect. Another thing that I really like about this Souplate is that the width here and the width here are the same. So if you tilt the skate on its side, both the front and the back hit the deck at the same time. So with some other skates, if you just tilt it to the side, you only hit the front, for example, or you only hit the back. So that makes it, when you set slide, so set sliding is when you slide like on the Souplate over the ground, it feels really natural. So one of the best Souplates on the market, for sure, in like the geometrics and how it's designed. The Souplate has 2 holes for the frame, and it's flat, so that means that it's the UFS mounting standard. And UFS stands for Universal Frame Design, and it's not universal because it's only for aggressive skates. About all aggressive skates have the UFS frame mounting standard. So you can buy any frame on the aftermarket or on, of course, thisissole.com, which says UFS, and it will fit on this skate. Doesn't matter what size it is. Okay, so you can get like a really short frame or a really long frame, big wheels, 2 wheels, 4 wheels, 3 wheels, anything. As long as it says UFS, it will fit on this. The standard frame that comes with this skate is always the Ground Control Featherlight 3 frame. Up until now, you see for all these frames here, they're all the Featherlight 3. This frame fits 64 millimeter. It's the anti-rocker frame. It's a classic frame. It's really light. So just like the Skate SL is, of course, the super light skate, and it comes with a Featherlight frame. A little bit comparable terminology. But the frame is a little bit weak. So if you would take out the wheel, and if I would squeeze the sides of this wall, it would just, I would be able to squeeze it. So just like the frame sits a little bit weak on the boot, and I can move it around, that's also a part of the frame itself, is that it's also a little bit weak. You can, of course, buy other frames on it, or you can buy it as a boot only on our web shop as well, and put your own frame on it that you still have at home, or buy another frame with it. But in general, the Featherlight 3 is just a really good. It's kind of like a standard frame. It's just a little bit weak. No problem there. One thing I do have a little bit criticism about is the sizing of the frames that come on the skate. I like it personally if I can see the front wheel. So here you can see that the wheel sticks out a little bit, but that's what I want. So if I look from the top on my toes, I want to see my wheel, okay? And in some of the sizes, the frame is just a little bit short. So I think especially if you have like a size 46, 47 boot or 43, 45 SL boot, then the frame is just a little bit too short, in my opinion. It's just a preference, so if you like short frames, that's fine. So these were all the little parts of the skate, and compared to other boots on the market, gave my honest opinion about all those. Now, some things that you can upgrade this skate with. If you have a skate with the stock liner, I would advise you to get the rain liner instead. It sits really nice in the skate. And of course, an even better liner is the Intuition liner. So if you want to really upgrade it, go for that one. You can play a little bit with the hardness of the shock absorber. I choose to put in a little bit more rigid one myself, but if you like the softest, then that's fine. So I choose to put in wax laces myself. Those are a lot better to tighten your skates with. These just are the stock Racers laces. They're fine, but they don't work as good as wax laces. The sole plate, you cannot put any aftermarket sole plates on it, unfortunately, but they did bring out this sick upgrade. So if you still have an SL or you want to buy an SL and it does not have the full sole plate, I would advise you to get it and upgrade your skates. And you can put on any frame that you want to upgrade it. You can put on like a wish frame if you want to have like the perfect flat riding experience, especially with a sunken in sole plate like this. The wish works really well because it's a little bit of a taller frame. Another thing that Racers does really well is color technology. So you can customize these skates by changing all the little parts of the sliders and the backslide plate and the sole frame, and we have a lot of different cuffs in different colors. Of course, the laces and the buckle you can always change on any skate, but Racers is really good in color technology. So if you want to customize your skate with that, that's for sure possible with Racers. If you don't have the metal buckle, you can upgrade it to a metal buckle because it's a lot better than the plastic one. And the last thing I want to say is that what you can upgrade it with is, of course, by putting a super feet insole in it so that your foot rests a lot more solid on the skate and it will upgrade your performance. So those were all the little parts of the skate. Those are all the things that you can upgrade it with. We have more reviews on our YouTube. So if you want to learn more about other skates or you want to check out our buyer's guide, go there and learn more. We're also doing an introductional series about skating. So if you just got into this and you're just starting to aggressive skate, learn our basic lesson series first. Just grab your phone, go to the park and go through all the exercises and it will make you a better skater. Those were all the things that I wanted to say about the Racers SL skate. If you want to learn more about the other skates, we make a new video every week, so consider subscribing to the channel. Put a thumbs up and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.